Good morning, everybody. This is Todd Adwar and my partner,
Peter Goodman.
And welcome to Real Essentials, the Essential Real Estate Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about first-time homebuyers and the process. So Pete, why don't you take it away?
All right. First thing is getting your team in place. It's really important when you're buying a home to make sure that you are ready to be the person with the best offer as quickly as possible. Because look, seller is ready to go. They want to sell the house. You want to be in contract. You want to be ready to go, so you don't have to first start looking for an attorney, the mortgage people, anyone else that's essential to getting yourself in contract. I always recommend as an attorney that you actually speak to your attorney at the earliest stage possible. A lot of people don't think about an attorney until they're ready to get a contract going because they have a deal accepted.
Yeah, I agree, Pete. So in this crazy real estate market where there's not a lot of inventory, of course you're going to speak to me, the mortgage person, and you're not going to get a pre-approval. You know, the pre-approval is for people who don't want to buy a house and don't want to win bids. You want to have a full approval from me. And you also want a lock and shop, meaning that your rate's locked in and you don't have to worry about that. We lock in your rates for 120 days, my company. But where the mistake is made is by not hiring Pete and your attorney immediately, because what happens is we want to get you in contract same day, next day when the offer is accepted, so that they can't get another offer and then come back to you and say, hey, we're sorry, we sold it to somebody else.
Exactly. You know, the problem I have a lot of times is people, like I was saying before, they hit me in terms of they calling me up when they have an offer. And I can spot issues before they become problems. And if I have all of the information that I need to get you into contract at the earliest stage possible, and we've already have a relationship, we've already spoken, we're going to get you into contract that much quicker. Remember, the most important thing that people do not realize is you go to your realtor says, oh, great, you guys have an accepted offer. They send out a deal sheet. You think you have a deal. You don't necessarily have a deal yet. You don't have a deal until the seller signs the contracts, the buyer signs the contracts, and they deposit your down payment.
Yeah, so the longer the time period is that you give that seller, whether, you don't have the attorney yet, you can't tell them who it is, or the attorney is not a real estate attorney and not available.
Yeah, that's the worst.
One of the reasons why I've done business with Pete for 10, 15 years at this point is that when I have a buyer, Pete is doing contracts same day, next day. He's demanding that we get, the contract out right away. And Pete, you're sending the contracts out to most of the sellers because you have the boiler point.
Right. We're getting everything. Everything is speed. It's important to protect your rights, and that's why we want to make sure we have everything in place and in the best place to do the best way we can do that. But speed is important, especially we all remember the market we had a year ago where you had 1,000 offers at the open house, and speed of course is important there. But even in today's market, when there's not a huge amount of inventory out there, but still doesn't matter. Even if there's only one other offer you're competing with, you want to be in the best position to get into contract first, but you also want your rights protected.
So what happens? You and your partner wake up, and or maybe it's just you, and you decide that you want to buy a house. So you're going to call me, your mortgage guy, and we're going to have a conversation. Don't be afraid. What I find is a lot of times the folks are afraid. They don't want to give me their W-2s. They don't want to give me their pay stubs. They feel like they're obligated to something. You're not obligated to anything unless we get you into a home. So let the mortgage person run the credit. Let them give you a full approval. Let them give you the exact amount that you're done, and have your attorney in place so that when you make the offer and Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller say, we're accepting your offer, you're getting into contract immediately. Pete, most of the time the seller's attorney does the contract. But it's not the case when you have a real estate attorney. The real estate attorney says, hey, I got the contract. Here it is. Let's go. What do you need?
Right. Well,
and that's the speed.
Pretty much. But a couple of things I just want to make sure everyone is clear on, because this is where confusion sets in a little bit. I get a contract from another attorney, and that contract is seller friendly. So I have to even out the terms. And that process, if it's an attorney that is a real estate attorney, usually we'll have a relationship, we'll already know them, I'll know what changes they may accept, and they understand that speed is important. So we'll get contracts done very quickly, sometimes 24 hours or even less. But reality is, because we have to make changes, that process is going to take 48 hours or so of going back and forth, a little bit of a negotiation. So you need to be prepared for that. We have a deal right now I just got where they're doing an open house on Sunday, and they want to get into contract and have a contract over. My buyer wants to have a contract over to the seller by tomorrow, fully signed with the down payment and everything, because they want to convince the seller either not to do the open house or to
right. And we know, Pete, if that seller does the open house, that there's a 70% chance that your buyer is going to have to pay more for the house, or somebody else is going to be living in the house, not them.
Yeah.
So your,
100%.
Pete's services, the attorney's portion of the deal is so important, and just not taken seriously by the amateur. If you want your family in a home, you have the full approval, you have the lock and shop, and you have, Peter's services done and in place, so that when you go to make an offer, we're getting you in that house immediately. You're already approved for the loan. It's as if you're buying cash, and you have Pete getting that contract done quickly before other people step in.
100%. But one other thing I want to just mention to everybody, because we talked about getting the team in place, the home inspector, we'll talk about this in another podcast, but home inspector is extremely important, because you're going to want to get your due diligence. You want to make sure that the house is in the condition you're expecting it. You may be buying it as is, but you don't want to find out that there's some major problem with the foundation. So you want to do the inspection. We'll have a podcast later on to talk more about that. But if we're talking about getting your team in place and being ready to hit and get into contract right away, you want that inspector done as well.
Yeah. Okay, folks, thank you for spending some time with us. And we look forward to getting you in the home, you and your family, really quickly.